In the preseason, these aren't necessarily the teams I would have had as the last two standing in the AFC, but here we are. The Patriots take on the Broncos on Sunday for a trip to the Super Bowl. Jeff, let's start with the Broncos. We saw Bo Nix go down at the end of overtime with Bills really against the Bills. Really strange situation there. Jarrett Stidham hasn't completed a pass all year long, and he gets the start in the AFC Championship game. But we've seen before, especially with the Broncos, defense does win championships. But what do we expect to see here from Jarrett Stidham?
This is really difficult, right? And, um,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just so hard because, I mean, there's a scenario where you think he can just absolutely get trampled just because he has not played in so long. Or, if you're Denver, and this is obviously what you're preaching if you're the offensive coaching staff, and this is what you're working on, you take the playbook to Jarrett Stidham, who probably does not get much time sitting with the offensive coaches and talking about the playbook.
Yeah.
Jarrett, first things first, what do you see? What are your favorite 30 plays in this playbook?
Mm.
Because I'm gonna dummy it down for Jarrett Stidham. You know what I'm saying? If this was just a regular season game, hey, we throw the kitchen sink at it. Let's see what the guys got, where we're at. But this is a one-shot deal, and you're trying to put him in the best possible scenario to succeed. It would
Mhm.
be kind of like if a teacher said, "Hey, we're going to give you a quiz tomorrow. What 10 questions would you like me to ask?" I think that's what you want to do for Statham is you want to make him as
Good point.
comfortable as possible. So even the practices, that's it. We ran it this on Wednesday. We ran it on Thursday. We ran it on Friday. We did a little bit of it on Saturday. We did it in pregame.
Yeah.
So because all of this that Jared Stidham has not gotten this entire year, you're not going to make it up. So there's no way, we can make up, 19 weeks of football for Jared Stidham in 3 days. So basically, we got
Mhm.
to come up with a nice, customized Jarrett Stidham playbook to maybe get us past the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do, certainly, but it's a lot easier to dummy something down than it is to add more to someone's plate or to
Right.
everyone's plate, essentially. I think the thing that is kind of interesting, there's an outside shot. Maybe you get J.K. Dobbins because
Right.
they were surviving without much. I mean, and I don't want to give the kid a hard time. I think he's played pretty well to running back position, but they weren't getting a ton out of the running game. So
More so in
maybe,
the back half. I've been more
yes,
impressed with him in the back half of the season when yes, I do agree though.
yeah. I mean, not getting a lot of production, the limited
Right.
amount of touches he gets, he does, he lose a lot of tackles, but I think, if you could say, oh, well, I may have J.K. Dobbins for 10 carries. Now, again, this is things that can maybe simplify and make things a little bit easier for Stidham. So you
Right.
figure what NFL game, you run anywhere, maybe 55, 60 plays, that gets you down to 50. You're going to run the rookie. He's going to get his 10 to 15 touches. So now you're
Mhm.
halfway there. The game dictates, how will dictate, obviously, how much you then need to do with Stidham within the passing game.
Yeah.
If you're New England, you know him a little bit. Obviously, there was a point that he was in your building. None of those people are essentially around anymore, of course.
Mhm.
Um, there's no tape necessarily to go off of course,
Yeah.
which makes things even more, technically difficult. So you're going to watch Bo Nix, and is Stidham this? Yeah, I mean, so which makes it extremely difficult. I mean, so yeah,
Mhm.
there's no way that this isn't a tremendously huge blow and a
Yeah.
daunting task for the Denver Broncos. But there is that, if you wanted to go with the little positive angel, the positive angel is they got no idea what's coming. That
They don't have
New
any
England
tape either. Yeah,
100%
exactly.
New England has no idea what's
Yeah.
gonna happen or what's coming at them. So there
Yeah.
is this, a belief that it is just gonna be straight 11 on 11,
Yeah.
whose 11's better than the others. I feel bad for Denver. I feel bad for their fan base. I feel bad for Bo Nix, because
Yeah.
everything they did this year, get the number 1 seed, win the first game against Buffalo when everybody thought maybe Buffalo was gonna pull, maybe a rabbit out of the hat, and then to get this
Yeah.
devastating news. And also for Jared Stidham, I mean, there is a chance, look, guys like Nick Foles, that name
We've
is
seen
out there for a reason.
Yep.
Everybody would always love to see an understudy maybe get his day in the sun, even if it's a brief one.
Yeah, it definitely puts on a lot of pressure to both Sean Payton, that offensive line, and the run game to set him up as well as they can. Drake May, as we talked about all season, was obviously in the MVP conversation all year. In the playoffs, he's struggled a bit with ball security and getting sacked quite a bit. Will Campbell, I honestly thought was really solid in the regular season. He's been kind of exposed in the playoffs. Do we see this same story here against this Denver defense?
Well, the thing with Campbell is, he was out for a stretch, so he's back, but
Right.
are we saying he's 100% or we're just saying he's
That's a good
back?
point. Yeah.
Look, that of course we can say that same, case and scenario for almost anybody, lining up
Mhm.
here this weekend, of course. What do you got left in the tank? Don't ask. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But there are some metrics out there, believe it or not, where actually Drake May played even sloppier than CJ Stroud did on
I
Sunday, if
saw
you
some of
can
those stats.
believe that. If you can actually believe that.
Yeah.
So, that's something where I think, I do agree with you. Because I think for May, it's been such a smooth darling of a season. There
Yes.
was never really any like, okay, how is he going to handle this? It never felt like there was much adversity. I mean,
Right.
Myles Garrett beat the living daylights out of him, sacked him 5 times. And Drake May still found a way win the game by like 23, 24 points. There was
Yep.
never a difficult spot for Drake May. Now we're getting a little bit of one. And there are 2 things you do have to worry about. You're not gonna have, the comfortability of playing in Foxborough. This game will be in Denver.
That's right.
And then, of
There's the
course,
elevation.
Denver's defense.
Yeah.
We have to talk about that here.
Yes.
So, look, not that Houston's defense, is any slouch whatsoever. They
Mhm.
really came on towards the latter part. So there's some understanding as to why maybe Drake May struggled against Houston on Sunday. But, Denver, we're talking about defense has probably been a top defense in the NFL now for the last 2 years straight. It's
Mhm.
really hard to maintain it. Sometimes with team defense, whether it's one injury or, one player's not with the team anymore or one coaching change, where it may look like on paper it's pretty much the same defense, but in actuality it's not. Denver,
Mm.
this is a really, really good group. And they absolutely get after the passer. Every
Yep.
guy that they put in that rotation on that defensive line has the ability to create some chaos and get some sacks. And for a
Yeah.
guy who's struggled a little bit over his last 2 weeks, this, in my opinion, this is a big one here because I think this, as much as the whole Jared Stidham story is going to be a thing, for this game to have any opportunity for Denver to maybe win this game, I don't think it's so much about Jared Stidham playing well as much as it would be a situation about Drake May not playing well. Because
Right.
this looks like, if you were New England, you got this news. All right, man, call your family, call your friends.
Yeah.
How many Super Bowl tickets do we need? But you actually, in fact, do have to go win this game. And Denver
Mhm.
does have one hell of a defense.
They definitely do. I was a little surprised though to see the Broncos allow the Bills to put up 30, if I'm honest. Like, will this one be low scoring? Because the Patriots have only allowed a combined 19 points in the entire playoffs. I was surprised that the Bills were able to score on that defense as much as they did.
Yeah. But then again, though, what if that is the Josh Allen effect, though, Katie? You know what I'm saying?
But
Because,
but he didn't have his best game either. Like,
he
that's
didn't.
a tough one for me to say Josh Allen effect because as I've said to you, I thought he was a bit of a liability at a lot of times in that game.
um, yeah, I think it's something, I think if you're Denver, you take that under advisement, but I also think if you're Denver, you're going, "This is a second-year quarterback, man." You know, Josh
Right.
Allen,
Who's making a lot of mistakes and fumbles and
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You gotta get, you can't fall for the hype yourself. You gotta sell it the other way. If you
Mm,
are the Denver staff, if you are the Denver players, that's great. What'd you do? Okay, big deal. That's fine. Okay,
yeah.
so you beat a Houston team. Okay. And what if you just have to believe that you are obviously the better product if you were Denver when you're talking defense versus offense. You don't
Mhm.
want to put too much pressure on these guys because I think the thing is everybody kind of already knows within that Denver locker room defensive wise, like, man, we really got to be lights out.
And they just
You,
have
you
so
don't,
many guys on that defense.
yeah, but you don't have your quarterback, so
Right.
so like it feels like there's a ton of maybe extra pressure if you're the Denver defense because it's like, all right, well, we got to be great every week. Okay, well, this
Mhm.
week we might have to be outstanding. And, that's sometimes where the pressure can be put on a little bit. It's not
Right.
a, favorable position by any means, but, any man who's worth his, merit is going to say, no problem, put more on my plate. Whatever. The bigger the game, the
Mhm.
bigger the opportunity, the more expectation you have for me, I'm there. But the thing is, you have to do that and you can't get lost in the moment trying to do more than you're capable of doing on any given rep, any given
Yeah.
snap. Your assignment is your assignment. Do it to the letter of the rule and follow
Mhm.
through because Denver's defense could make up certainly for the fact that you don't have Bo Nix and, make this Jarrett Stidham story go even more off the rails. And
Yeah.
it could be the reason that Stidham story can become a thing would be because the Denver defense just went out there and had an unbelievable day.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Are there any factors or storylines in this one that you see that aren't getting as much attention? Like we're talking a lot about these defenses, a lot about the two quarterbacks, but anything else you're seeing that maybe isn't getting as much?
Think I kind of like with New England is though, as much as Drake May has been this consistent product the entire season, it's been ebbs and flows as far as the other guys. There's a couple of weeks where
Especially
Diggs threw
that
the
run
ball.
game.
Yup, Henderson, ups and downs.
Yeah.
Um, so I think Ramondre Stevenson, and we even called for this, going into the first week of the playoffs. Not only was he starting to run the ball again, he was getting involved as a receiver, which is something that
Right.
wasn't necessarily, which is good for them because you don't want to put Stevenson on the field, hand him the ball, take him off, and then you put out Henderson. You want the belief that either guy can do either requirement of the position, and I think that's a great thing, that Stevenson's been doing. And I think that's where it's going to be kind of hard for Denver because, obviously Drake May is the focal point, but, Boute's a player.
Yeah.
Douglas is a player. The tight ends get involved. So it's really difficult to say, well, we're just going to take one thing away. And I think necessarily for New England, it's like, all right, well, take one thing away. We'll go with the other
Mhm.
3, 4, 5 options that we have. So, for Denver, it's really going to be, and I think it's going to be about the 11 playing as one because you just can't have any stupid missed assignments that are going to cost you 10 yards, another
Yes.
15 yards on a missed tackle or a blown coverage because you are already coming into this game severely, severely handicapped. So that means
Mhm.
everything else here, penalties, specialty, everything else has to get even tighter because of the loss of your quarterback. And,
Yeah.
again, tough spot for Denver to be in.
Mhm.
I don't think they're feeling sorry for themselves. I think they are hyping the living daylights out of Jared Stidham,
Yes.
him, and I have a feeling that I think Denver's going to go in there, and I think they're going to play pretty damn well.
I think they will too. Who wins this one and what is the score?
I think the Disney in me says, "Man, let's let Jared Stidham win."
Me too.
Because wow, that would be really, really off the rails, right?
Yes.
In that respect, though, looking at what Drake May has done this entire season. And, even if it's been a little bit rocky here once it's gotten to January, he has been probably a top 5 quarterback in this league this year. There's no question about
Easily.
it. The
Yeah.
kid is, basically shown everybody just exactly who he is. And, again, we try to make guesses with the most important and relevant information at our disposal.
Yeah.
Well, the most important and relevant information in this game is that Bo Nix is not quarterbacking for the Denver Broncos.
Right.
So it's really hard, unless you are a true, you know, Disney person at heart or a true just Denver fan, it's really hard to believe that New England doesn't win this one. And it kind of feels like maybe Denver hangs around. And unfortunately, it also feels like, Cinderella changes somewhere late in the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden, maybe Stidham throws a pick that, inexperience would have maybe overcome. Again, tough draw. But I mean, if you're the Pats, you have to win this game.